Before your feet touch the floor in the morning, something has already decided the outcome of your entire day. Not your boss, not your schedule, not the problems waiting for you outside the door. Something far quieter. The very first feeling that moves through your mind when you wake up. Imagine opening your eyes tomorrow morning. The room is still dim. The world outside is silent. Nothing has happened yet. But suddenly your mind begins replaying the list. The projects you still haven't finished. The deadlines that feel too close. The loan payment due this week. The credit card bill sitting in your inbox. The conversations you know will be uncomfortable. And before your body even sits up, a quiet pressure spreads through your chest. Your breathing becomes slightly tighter. Your shoulders sink deeper into the bed. Nothing in your environment has actually changed yet. But your nervous system is already preparing for struggle. Your brain begins releasing the chemistry of tension as if the battle has already started. And without realizing it, you carry that signal with you into the next 16 hours of your life. Your conversations feel heavier. Your patience becomes thinner. Small inconveniences begin confirming the story your mind started telling before the day even began. Now imagine something different. The same room. The same responsibilities waiting outside the door. The same bills. The same obligations. The same uncertainties about the future. None of those things have disappeared. But when your eyes open, the first signal that moves through your mind is slightly different. Instead of racing ahead into problems that haven't happened yet, you pause for a moment. A single breath, a different signal moves through your mind. I'm alive, and I'm grateful. Something subtle shifts instantly. Your chest opens slightly. Your breathing deepens without effort. Your spine straightens. The day hasn't changed yet, but your internal state has already begun reorganizing itself. Why does such a small thought create such a different experience? Because your brain operates in a way most people never realize. It doesn't carefully evaluate whether a thought is helpful, accurate, or even true. It simply responds to the signals it receives most often. The brain doesn't strongly distinguish between something you actually experience and something you vividly imagine again and again. To your nervous system, repetition becomes reality. And this is where many people unknowingly lose control of their lives. They believe their mood is determined by what happens around them. But in truth, much of what they experience is the echo of thoughts they've been repeating for years. The same quiet complaints each morning. The same worries in the afternoon. The same emotional tone every evening. Day after day, the mind runs these patterns automatically, like a program that keeps restarting itself. Your brain becomes incredibly efficient at producing whatever emotional signal you practice the most. Even if that signal drains your energy. Even if it fills your day with tension. That's why someone can feel exhausted even when they haven't worked physically. Why anxiety can appear in moments where nothing dangerous is happening. Why restlessness can exist even in silence. The mind is not broken. It's simply trained. Trained through thousands of unconscious instructions you've repeated over time. But here's the part that changes everything. If your brain learned these patterns through repetition, it can learn new ones the same way. Because every thought you think sends an electrical message through your nervous system. And every emotion you feel sends a biological signal through your body. Together, they create the internal environment you live inside all day long. When your thoughts say one thing but your emotions say another. When you tell yourself you want peace but continue replaying anger or frustration, your system receives conflicting instructions. Your energy scatters. Your attention fragments. And life begins reflecting that confusion back to you through your experiences. But when your thoughts and emotions begin moving together in the same direction, something remarkable begins happening. Your body settles. Your brain reorganizes. Energy that once leaked through stress and distraction returns to you as clarity and calm. And the shift doesn't require a dramatic life change. It begins with something incredibly small. 60 seconds of silence in the morning before the world rushes in. A few intentional breaths before reacting to stress. A moment of genuine appreciation that signals to your nervous system, this is who I am choosing to become. In those brief moments, your brain begins forming new neural connections. Old emotional patterns slowly lose their grip. Your body learns something it may not have felt in a long time. Safety. Not the kind that depends on external circumstances, but the kind that begins inside you. This is the quiet science of transformation. Not forcing yourself to become someone else, but teaching your mind how to experience yourself differently. So for the next few moments, don't worry about believing anything you're hearing. Just observe. Notice how certain thoughts tighten your body while others expand it. Notice how your breathing changes depending on what you focus on. Because awareness is where every real change begins. And as you continue listening, something important will start becoming clear. Your life may look like it's being shaped by the outside world. But the deeper truth is this. Much of what you experience is responding to the signal you're constantly broadcasting from within. So right now, take a slow breath through your nose. Hold it for a moment. Then release it slowly through your mouth as if you're letting go of the tension you've been carrying. That single breath marks the first step away from unconscious reaction and toward conscious creation. And from this moment forward, the real journey begins. The journey of understanding the most powerful system you will ever operate, your own mind. Now the real journey begins, because the truth about your mind is far simpler than most people realize. Your mind is not against you, it is not broken, and it is not trying to sabotage your life. It is simply responsive. Every morning it waits for a signal, and whatever signal you send first becomes the instruction it begins executing. If the first transmission your mind receives is worry, it prepares your entire system for conflict. Your muscles tighten slightly, your breathing shortens, and your nervous system quietly mobilizes for a day of resistance. But if the first signal is calm, if the first message says that everything can be handled step by step, the brain begins opening pathways towards steadiness instead of tension. The remarkable thing is that your brain never argues with the instructions you give it. It doesn't stop to ask whether your fears are accurate or exaggerated. It simply obeys the pattern it recognizes most often. Every idea you repeat becomes a command, and every emotional state you rehearse becomes a blueprint that your biology begins building around. This is why some people live inside constant pressure without even realizing it. They have been sending the same signal to their brain for years. Stay alert, stay tense, stay prepared for the worst. So the brain faithfully keeps the body in defensive mode, releasing stress chemistry even in moments when nothing dangerous is actually happening. Most of what you feel during the day isn't spontaneous emotion at all. It is learned repetition. Your reactions to pressure, the thoughts that appear when you feel tired, even the tone of your inner voice. All of it has been practiced so many times that it has become automatic programming. You have rehearsed being yourself with such consistency that your nervous system now performs it without conscious effort. And when the same thoughts continue firing again and again, when the same emotional chemistry circulates through your body like an echo returning to its source, something unusual happens. The body begins memorizing that state. Stress becomes familiar. Tension becomes normal. And over time, the nervous system can even develop a strange attachment to those stress responses, not because they feel good, but because they feel predictable. Familiar discomfort begins to look like safety. That is how powerful the brain's loyalty to patterns truly is. Your biology would rather repeat something unpleasant that it understands than step into something unfamiliar it cannot yet predict. And so the brain continues doing what it was trained to do. It releases cortisol in situations that don't require it. It floods your bloodstream with adrenaline for threats that exist only in imagination. It keeps your muscles subtly tight, even when you are sitting quietly in a room where nothing is wrong. None of this means that you are damaged or incapable of change. It simply means your brain is still protecting you using instructions it learned long ago. The real question then becomes this. If the brain is this obedient, what might happen if you begin giving it different commands? What if instead of mentally rehearsing your fears every morning, you started rehearsing calm? What if instead of repeating the thought, "I can't handle this," you offered a different instruction such as, "I'm learning how to handle this step by step"? Every new thought you introduce into your mind is like a small electrical spark. When you hold that spark long enough with attention, it begins forming a new neural pathway inside your brain. And when neural pathways repeat, they slowly become your new normal way of experiencing life. Transformation does not begin through force or struggle. It begins through gentle redirection. Here is a simple practice to experience that shift immediately. The next time your thoughts begin racing, pause wherever you are. Breathe in slowly through your nose for a count of 4. Hold that breath softly for a count of 2. Then release it through your mouth for a count of 6, as if you were blowing out a candle. Repeat this 3 times. Within seconds, you will feel something subtle change inside your body. Your shoulders relax. Your chest opens slightly. Your mind becomes quieter. That shift is not imaginary. It is your vagus nerve sending a message through your entire nervous system that the emergency is over. When your body registers safety, your brain regains the ability to think clearly again. That is the hidden doorway to mental clarity. It is not about forcing your mind to think harder. It is about teaching your nervous system how to stop fighting itself. And once that happens, something powerful becomes possible. Instead of reacting automatically to every situation, you begin choosing your response. One small moment at a time. Replace frustration with a breath. Replace doubt with curiosity. Replace urgency with a pause. These small choices may seem insignificant, but they are the exact moments when your brain begins learning a new form of obedience. Not obedience to fear, but obedience to your conscious awareness. Because the deeper truth is this: you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that chooses which thoughts to follow. And every time you choose awareness over reaction, you begin quietly rewriting the biological code of your own mind. This is how real mastery begins to emerge, not through dramatic breakthroughs or sudden moments of revelation, but through the quiet repetition of small choices made every single day. Your brain is listening constantly. Every thought you allow to linger becomes a signal, and every signal becomes an instruction your nervous system begins translating into chemistry, posture, breath, and perception. A thought may appear invisible, silent, almost insignificant, but inside the neural landscape of your brain, it begins as a tiny electrical spark. That spark jumps between neurons, triggering a cascade of chemical messengers traveling through your bloodstream, quietly informing your body how to prepare for the next moment. Within seconds, your heart rhythm adjusts, your muscles either tighten or release, and your breathing becomes shallow or expansive, depending on the message your mind has transmitted. It takes only one thought to shift the climate inside your body. When the thought you hold is calm or appreciative, your brain releases chemicals associated with safety and connection, allowing warmth and openness to move through your system. But when the thought carries fear, doubt, or threat, a very different chemistry floods your bloodstream. Adrenaline rises. Cortisol circulates. Your perception narrows toward survival. You may not consciously notice this process happening, yet every moment your thoughts are sculpting the biology of your experience. They are building invisible bridges between your awareness and your physical body, instructing every cell how to respond to the world. This is not poetic language or abstract philosophy. It is basic biology and physics unfolding quietly beneath the surface of everyday life. The surprising part is how rarely people recognize this mechanism operating within them. Most individuals treat their thoughts like harmless background noise, random mental chatter that has little influence over reality. But no thought is neutral. Every idea carries an electrical frequency, and every emotion that follows carries a magnetic charge. Together, they form an energetic blueprint that you broadcast continuously into the environment around you. When someone lives in constant self-doubt, that internal signal subtly shapes their tone of voice, their posture, their expectations, and eventually the types of situations they begin encountering. Life seems to reflect the very assumptions they hold inside. This isn't punishment from the universe. It is resonance. The mind acts as the transmitter while the body becomes the amplifier. Whatever signal you repeatedly emit through thought and emotion eventually echoes back through your experiences. Consider how easily one small moment of anxiety can multiply. You wake up with a slight uneasiness in your chest. Then you check your phone and read a message that triggers tension. That tension alters your tone when speaking with others, influences your decisions, and by midday your entire environment begins to feel stressful. Yet the chain reaction began with a single subtle pulse inside your mind. This is how mental noise transforms into physical exhaustion. A day spent worrying can drain more energy than a day filled with physical work, because thought itself consumes electrical energy inside the brain. In fact, the brain already uses a significant portion of the body's available energy supply, and when the mind loops through unnecessary fears, judgments, or repeated memories, it burns through that energy far faster than it can be restored. This is why modern life often produces a unique form of fatigue. Not simply physical tiredness, but neural exhaustion. A quiet depletion caused by constant thinking, constant reacting, constant stimulation without pause. At first it appears subtle. Your focus becomes less stable. Your patience shortens. Even moments that once felt joyful seem strangely muted. Yet nothing is actually wrong with your brain. It is simply overwhelmed by continuous mental activity without moments of restoration. The brain was never designed for endless stimulation. It was designed for rhythm. Periods of engagement followed by intervals of stillness where neural circuits can reset themselves. Without those pauses, the electrical activity inside your brain begins to resemble a storm of signals firing without coordination. Over time, that storm drains clarity, creativity, and emotional balance. But the moment you slow down and allow a small pocket of silence to appear, something remarkable begins happening inside the nervous system. Brain waves shift into calmer patterns. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for insight and wise decision-making, begins regaining control from the survival circuits that were dominating your attention. The fog slowly lifts. Your breathing deepens. Your mind regains its natural rhythm. And in that quiet space, something becomes clear. Awareness itself is the true rest your mind has been searching for all along. You have experienced this phenomenon more times than you realize. You walk into a room, and before anyone speaks, before a single word is exchanged, you can feel the atmosphere. Sometimes energy. The real question is what kind of signal you are sending. When lifted, this is coherence beginning to form. Your heart's electromagnetic field starts synchronizing with the electrical rhythms of your brain. And in that synchronization, your nervous system shifts from reaction into creation. When you practice this state regularly, the brain gradually learns to prefer it. Stress chemistry decreases. Repair chemistry increases. Your perception of life expands. Instead of reacting automatically to every challenge, you begin responding with calm awareness. That is the real power of thought, not the ability to control the world outside you, but the ability to transform the energy within you. And once that inner signal changes, the outer world begins responding in ways that once seemed impossible. There is a kind of exhaustion that sleep alone cannot repair. You may wake after a full night in bed and still feel drained, not because your body failed to rest, but because your mind never truly stopped working. Even while you slept, it remained active, replaying conversations, anticipating problems, solving situations that have not even happened yet. This is the hidden fatigue of modern life, not simply physical tiredness, but neural depletion. It builds quietly in the background like a faint signal you barely notice at first. Over time, your patience becomes shorter. Your concentration becomes fragile. Even moments that should feel joyful begin to lose their brightness. Nothing appears obviously wrong, yet something inside feels heavy. Your brain is not malfunctioning. It is simply overwhelmed by constant mental activity without moments of silence to recover. We live in a culture that celebrates speed, constant productivity, endless stimulation. The mind rarely receives permission to be still. Notifications, messages, decisions, responsibilities. Each one ignites another spark of neural activity. At first, that constant motion can feel energizing, almost exciting, like electricity running through a city at night. But eventually the system becomes overloaded. The brain, which already consumes a large portion of your body's energy, begins burning through its reserves faster than it can replenish them. This is when neural fatigue appears. Your thinking becomes foggy. Your motivation fades. Even simple decisions feel heavier than they should. Yet the solution is surprisingly simple and often overlooked. The brain was never designed for uninterrupted stimulation. It was designed for rhythm, cycles of engagement followed by moments of stillness. Those quiet intervals allow neural circuits to reorganize themselves, clearing the accumulated noise of constant thinking. Silence, in this sense, is not emptiness. It is restoration. When you close your eyes and withdraw your attention from the external world, your brain enters a different operating mode, sometimes called the default network. In this state, areas of the brain responsible for reflection, integration, and creativity begin working together more coherently. Memories organize themselves. Emotions settle. Insight becomes possible again. The fog begins to lift. What once felt overwhelming slowly becomes manageable. And the remarkable truth is that this shift does not require hours of meditation or retreating from life. It can begin with something as small as 60 seconds. Wherever you are, sitting at a desk, riding a bus, standing in your kitchen, pause for just 1 minute. Allow the outside world to fade slightly into the background. Close your eyes if possible. Take a slow breath through your nose for a count of 4. Hold it gently for 2 seconds, then release it through your mouth for 6 seconds, as if letting tension dissolve with the air leaving your lungs. With each breath, imagine the static inside your mind slowly discharging. Instead of chasing your thoughts, simply watch them move past like clouds drifting through the sky. You are not the weather inside your mind. You are the open sky that allows it to pass. After 1 minute, open your eyes again. Most people notice an immediate difference, a subtle quietness as if the brain itself just exhaled. Practiced a few times each day, this brief moment of silence begins retraining the nervous system. Instead of constantly reacting to stimulation, it learns how to return to calm. Within days, focus becomes clearer, sleep deepens, and a quiet steadiness begins following you into situations that once felt overwhelming. Because silence is not escape from life. It is alignment with the rhythm your mind was always designed to follow. Practice this simple moment of silence just a few times each day, and something subtle begins to change inside your mind. At first, the difference is almost invisible, like a quiet shift in the background of your awareness. Your thoughts feel slightly clearer. Your breathing becomes steadier. Situations that once triggered immediate stress begin to feel more manageable. This is not coincidence. Your nervous system is learning a new rhythm. Instead of reacting automatically to every stimulus around you, it begins remembering how to return to balance. Within days, you may notice your focus sharpening, your sleep becoming deeper, and a calm presence following you even into situations that once felt overwhelming. Because silence is not an escape from life. It is alignment with the intelligence already present within your body. It reconnects awareness with the deeper wisdom of your nervous system. In that stillness, the mind stops searching for answers outside and begins listening to the signals already emerging from within. Neural fatigue cannot truly be solved by caffeine, distraction, or sheer willpower. The real cure is rhythm, the sacred balance between sound and silence, between thinking and observing, between constant activity and quiet awareness. Each time you enter a moment of stillness, the electrical storm inside your brain begins to soften. Chaotic patterns of neural activity gradually synchronize into calmer, more coherent rhythms. Beneath the noise of everyday thinking, you begin to sense something deeper, a presence that feels both alive and peaceful at the same time. This silence is not emptiness. It is intelligence resting within itself. It is the field where creativity quietly forms, where intuition becomes easier to hear, and where clarity emerges without struggle. The truth is that you are not discovering silence for the first time. You are remembering something that has always existed beneath the endless movement of thought. And once you reconnect with that stillness, you begin to realize something surprising. Clarity, energy, and vitality rarely come from forcing yourself to do more. They arise when you allow space for the mind to breathe, when you step back from constant effort and let stillness restore the coherence that your nervous system has been seeking all along. Every emotion you experience leaves an imprint somewhere within the body. You may forget the exact moment when something happened, but your nervous system rarely does. It remembers the tone of a voice that once wounded you, the tension of a difficult conversation, the weight of words that made you question your worth. At the same time, it also remembers the warmth of being understood, the excitement of inspiration, the calm presence of someone who truly saw you. Each of these experiences carries a chemical signature. The brain sends the signal, and the body stores the response. Over time, these emotional imprints accumulate, quietly shaping the way you breathe, the way you hold your posture, and even the way you interpret the world around you. When people say, "I just feel this way," they are often describing a physiological memory repeating itself. The mind remembers the story, but the body remembers the feeling that the story created. And unless awareness interrupts that loop, those feelings continue replaying day after day, as if the past were still happening in the present. This is why people can change their environment, move to a new city, start a new job, even enter new relationships, yet still experience the same emotional patterns appearing again and again. It is not fate, and it is not coincidence. It is programming. The emotional body reacts faster than the conscious mind can analyze. Every time you revisit anger, the same biochemical signals move through your bloodstream. Every time you remember fear, your heart begins accelerating again even though no real threat is present. In this way, the nervous system becomes familiar with certain emotional states and eventually begins reproducing them automatically. What once happened as a reaction becomes an identity that feels almost permanent. Yet the most important realization is this: you are not your emotions. You are the awareness capable of observing them. The moment you can notice a feeling without immediately becoming consumed by it, something powerful begins to happen. The body receives a new instruction. Instead of repeating the old pattern, it begins loosening its grip on the stored chemistry of the past. This is where reprogramming truly begins. Not by suppressing emotions or pretending they do not exist, but by witnessing them with calm awareness. In that space of observation, the emotional energy that once felt trapped begins to move again. It softens. It changes shape. Sometimes it simply dissolves. What you are experiencing in that moment is the nervous system learning a new response. One that is no longer dictated by memory, but guided by consciousness. And this is only the beginning of understanding how deeply your awareness shapes the reality you experience each day. What you have discovered so far is only the threshold of a deeper realization about consciousness and the invisible forces shaping your experience of reality. Most people believe their lives are determined by circumstances, by the people they meet, by the unpredictable sequence of events unfolding around them. Yet beneath those visible events, something far more subtle is constantly at work. Every thought you sustain produces an electrical signal in the brain, and every emotion you allow to move through your body generates a magnetic vibration within your nervous system. Together, these signals form an energetic frequency, a living broadcast that extends beyond the boundaries of your physical body into the quantum field surrounding you. Whether you realize it or not, you are constantly transmitting this frequency into the environment of your life. The quantum field does not interpret your intentions through words. It responds to the energetic signature created by the union of your thoughts and emotions. This is why two people can face the same situation yet experience completely different realities. One carries tension, doubt, and fear, broadcasting a signal of contraction and defensiveness. The other carries clarity, trust, and openness, transmitting a frequency of coherence. Their external circumstances may appear similar, yet the energetic patterns they radiate into the field begin organizing very different experiences around them. But there is a deeper layer to understand here. The signals you broadcast today are not created only by the present moment. Much of the frequency you emit is shaped by emotional imprints stored within your body from the past. Every significant experience you have lived leaves behind a chemical echo within your nervous system. The mind remembers the narrative, but the body remembers the emotional vibration that accompanied it. Over time, these emotional vibrations become familiar patterns circulating through your biology. They influence how you interpret situations, how you respond to pressure, and even what possibilities you believe are available to you. Without noticing it, many people wake each morning already broadcasting the same emotional frequency they carried yesterday. Anxiety, frustration, resentment, or self-doubt quietly reappear within the nervous system before the day has even begun. The mind believes it is reacting to new circumstances, yet the body is often repeating an old energetic pattern. This is why similar experiences tend to reappear again and again in a person's life. The same emotional conflicts, the same internal tensions, the same sense of limitation appearing in different forms. It can feel as if life itself is repeating patterns, but in reality the body is broadcasting a familiar frequency into the quantum field, and the field simply reflects it back through experience. This does not mean you are trapped inside these patterns forever. In fact, the moment you become aware of them, the possibility of transformation begins. Because you are not your emotions. You are the consciousness capable of observing them. When you notice a feeling without immediately reacting to it, a space appears between the stimulus and the response. Within that space, the body receives a new instruction. Instead of reinforcing the old chemical pattern, the nervous system begins learning a different energetic state. Emotion itself is simply energy in motion. When it is resisted, it becomes trapped inside the body and continues cycling through your physiology. But when it is observed with calm awareness, that energy begins to move freely again. Sometimes it intensifies briefly, sometimes it softens, sometimes it dissolves entirely. What you are witnessing in that moment is the nervous system releasing a frequency it has been repeating for years. Each time you observe rather than react, the brain forms new neural pathways and your energetic signature slowly changes. Thought and emotion begin entering coherence. A new frequency emerges, and with it the broadcast you send into the quantum field begins transforming. Over time, peace stops feeling unfamiliar and begins to feel natural. Your body learns that safety does not depend on controlling every external circumstance. It emerges from the stability of your own awareness. And as this inner coherence deepens, something remarkable begins happening. The story you once told about yourself begins dissolving. You are no longer defined by the emotional past you carried for so long. Instead, you begin quietly composing a new identity, one aligned with the frequency of clarity, presence, and conscious creation. When the mind and body finally agree on that new signal, the energetic past loosens its hold, and the future you once imagined begins unfolding as a natural extension of the frequency you now embody. As we reach the end of this reflection, a deeper truth begins to reveal itself. The life you experience is not shaped only by the circumstances around you, but by the frequency you carry within you each day. Every thought you repeat and every emotion you allow to move through your body becomes energy in motion, forming a vibration that your nervous system continuously broadcasts into the quantum field of your environment. The world does not simply respond to what you want. It responds to the energetic signature you embody. This is why transformation does not begin by forcing the outside world to change. It begins by changing the internal signal you send into it. When your thoughts become clearer and your emotions begin moving in coherence with them, your entire system starts generating a different frequency. That new frequency gradually reorganizes the way you perceive challenges, opportunities, and even your own potential. Instead of reacting automatically to the echoes of past experiences, you begin responding with awareness in the present moment. And this is the most powerful lesson hidden within everything we explored today. You are not trapped by your past emotional patterns. You are the consciousness capable of observing them and choosing a different energetic response. Each time you pause, breathe, and bring awareness back to the present moment, you interrupt the old signal and begin broadcasting a new one. Over time, those small moments of awareness accumulate. The nervous system becomes calmer. The mind becomes clearer. The body begins trusting a new state of stability and coherence. That is how transformation actually happens, not through dramatic effort, but through the quiet repetition of conscious presence. So here is a simple way to apply this starting today. Several times throughout your day, pause for a moment and ask yourself a simple question. What frequency am I broadcasting right now? If you notice tension, breathe slowly and allow your body to soften. If you notice gratitude or calm, allow that feeling to expand for a few seconds longer. These small shifts begin training your nervous system to live in a different state of energy. And as that inner signal changes, the experiences that resonate with that frequency slowly begin appearing in your life. Before you leave this video, take a moment to anchor that intention. In the comments below, write one simple sentence. I choose my frequency. Let that statement become a reminder of the awareness you are building. And if this message resonated with you, consider subscribing to the channel and supporting this community so we can continue exploring the deeper connection between consciousness, energy, and the reality we create together. Your support helps bring more of these conversations into the world.